When it comes to environment, ecology, everybody must participate. This is more important and all impacting life on the planet itself. If we allow this to deteriorate, all life on the planet will suffer. I think Prime Minister Modi's presence there is very important, and it's important when it comes to environment, ecology, everybody must participate irrespective of other concerns. Other concerns are there, I'm not saying they are not important. But this is more important and all impacting life on the planet itself. We have a fight today, that fight may go away tomorrow. But if we allow this to deteriorate, all life on the planet will suffer. So that must get across. I think Prime Minister Modi's presence there is very important, and it is being looked forward to by UAE, who's the host country, because he's got backing of achievements. Whatever we promised in Paris, most of those things we have reasonably fulfilled, and we are going ahead to fulfill this. Actually, we may fulfill this ahead of the dates we have committed, that's what it is looking like. Still, there are many challenges, it's not a simple thing. To turn a nation from one mode of operation to another is not a simple thing. But the efforts are being made, but I feel though India is being looked at as a third world nation and all this stuff, I think India will respond much faster than Western nations who have settled into certain lifestyles. We are willing to change and we are willing to do things. Indian people are enthusiastic about anything new and they will do those things. So probably we will fulfill these goals, Paris goals, even ahead of the times that we have committed to.
As you mentioned that there are few significant world leaders who are not attending this meeting, those who were expected to attend but they are not attending. So do you think war or geopolitical scenario is just a reason for that or an excuse for this?
No, because their teams will come, the nation's teams will come, significant people will come and they will take the conversation forward. But still the presence of heavyweight leaders is important to give that significance to COP28. If you don't give that significance to a given assembly of people, then the significance of the event itself may go down, and in future the COP, whatever 29, 30 that comes, may not find the necessary significance if world leaders choose to opt out of it. In that sense, I'm saying this is a big loss. But in terms of discussions and taking these things ahead, I think that it is the teams which do the work, those teams will definitely be there.
There are two things in India which are being widely discussed nowadays in terms of sustainability and the environment things. One is the air pollution thing, especially in the North Indian region, and the second part was the Uttarakhand tragedy which we saw. Mountains are being dug, tunnels are being made, so there are so many construction work. So how do you see these kind of infrastructure works and air pollution, these connected things, and how India should work towards these things like Uttarakhand tragedy should be avoided, or air pollution in Delhi or around, how should that be minimized?
See, I don't know when the farmers picked up this habit of burning the stubble, because whatever we grow, the organic content, if you grow paddy or wheat or whatever, we are eating only this much of it. The rest of it should go normally to the animals and their dung will go back into the soil. That's the normal process. Now if you don't have animals, this remaining part of it should go back into the soil because that's the only organic material, and we must use certain aspects to hasten that process. There are traditional methods and also there are modern methods to do it. How to make this stubble go back into the soil, not just this much. I'm saying the entire pot should go back because that's important. But unfortunately, they've taken to this burning mode. I think it's only in those small areas around Delhi. So because it's around Delhi, it's making so much news. This burning habit is not there in the south at all. It's considered highly irresponsible. We don't do that. We always plow back the material back into the soil because that's very important for the organisms. So that's a bad habit which education is needed and maybe some incentive is needed to do that. But we are only talking about this because of pollution in Delhi. That's not my concern. I'm not saying I'm not bothered about the citizens of Delhi. I'm saying my concern is Punjab's soil is dying. Putting back the stuff into the soil is more important than anything else. So in that sense, we must educate them, we must give them necessary incentives to put back as much organic material as possible back into the soil. About the infrastructure, see, our populations are big and we need infrastructure, we can't say no. At the same time, well, Himalayan mountains particularly are very fragile. It's where, I have trekked in Himalayas from the age of 19, 27 years I trekked in Himalayas every year. After that, I have been trekking in Nepal and Tibet, which is also Himalayas on the other side. The whole of Himalayas is a very rubble-like mountain. It's not like Western Ghats where it's solid rock. This is rubble-like mountain. If you disturb it, it can come down. At the same time, human beings have their needs. Roads could be done easily if we attend to it in a certain way, but the problem, I think, is really the hydel projects, which has created a certain pressure. But this tunnel alone, we should not take it that seriously. It's an unfortunate human tragedy, but fortunately they all came out successfully. Tunnels collapsing happens everywhere in the world. It doesn't matter how you do it.
Last year Joshimath, this year this incident. So
Joshimath is a serious issue. Tunnel collapsing a little bit is not such a serious issue. It was it could have been a human tragedy because these 41 people, if they couldn't reach them slowly, lives would have been snuffed out. That would have been a tragedy. But tunnel little collapse here and happens everywhere in the world, that's not a big deal. But Joshimath is a different affair, that's a dangerous affair. That, due to many reasons, I'm not an expert to just pass judgment, but I must tell you this, I was trekking in Himalayas from the age of 19 for 29 years every year. I stopped trekking because when I saw the mountain peaks that I've always seen from my youth, always they would be snow-covered, no matter which month in the year you went there. But suddenly I started seeing them bare, black. I couldn't bear it. After that I stopped going to Indian Himalayas, I started going to Tibet. In the last 18 years, every year I have been in the Nepal and Tibet region. So, even then, with the engineers, I have driven through this tunnel. After Uttarkashi, before Gangotri, there are tunnels going into the mountains, which now I think water is flowing because there were hydro dams. They drove me in a jeep up to 2 kilometers and back. Even then, when I spoke to the engineers, I said, what are we doing? Do we really need hydroelectricity here? We can set up a safe nuclear plant somewhere to get electricity. Himalayas are not the place to tap hydroelectricity. I know a whole lot of people won't like it, the governments won't like it, but I have to express my concern. Long-term hydro plants in Himalayas are not safe because Himalayas is a rubble-like mountain. I know this mountain so well. It's sitting like rubble, there is no solid rocks there. If it starts coming down, it could come down. People may see that it's part of the alignment, that some things will come down, some things will go up. That's one way of looking at it. But least amount of disturbance to those mountains which are held sacred for thousands of years. It is pilgrim centers. I think keeping them in terms of providing facilities for the people is important, but it need not become like a full-on tourism industry. It should be a pilgrim center. Pilgrim centers were always difficult to access and we had to walk and trek and go there. I think keeping that quality is very good and they will become far more popular among the youth if there is a trek to do to a temple rather than drive up to the temple. So, these are things to be considered, but widening the roads continuously is not a good idea. We must limit the traffic. If necessary, we should put a train, which is better than thousands of cars going there. One train could carry all of them. I'm not saying this is a solution, we could think of anything, but as far as possible, cutting more and more into the temple should be limited. We can't do without infrastructure, but at the same time, we don't want Himalayas to collapse in a big way. It's not that the entire mountain will collapse, but sides of the mountain have already collapsed. That is also a natural part, not necessarily because of infrastructure. Many times sides of the mountain comes down. This is the way it stabilizes itself because it's a growing mountain. But limited amount of meddling is best for Himalayas. This is my experience of life.
Subscribe to Midday India. Get direct notifications on all our videos by clicking on the bell icon.